Well, we welcome you to this month's episode of The Breeze. And once again, we're on Zoom, and hopefully one day we'll be back in the studio. But for now, it's still the same. And Margie, you, in fact, are up in West Virginia, I believe. Is that correct?
I am visiting my nephew and his wife and family in Huntington, West Virginia.
And what's new up there? What's going on?
Well, they live in a wooded area behind them, so we are seeing all kinds of birds. We're seeing deer come on the property. It's just lovely. It's in the 50s here today, and it's good to be with family.
So, do you talk about other people at all? You and your nephew? I mean, is there any
yes,
gossip?
always.
Is there any
Oh,
gossip
well,
involved?
We're always kind and gracious when we talk about relatives.
How about you, Tina? What's the latest with you?
Well, I heard about some things from my past job, and I was told to shh, but I'm waiting to get confirmation.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Start gossiping about it, right?
Before I start, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not gossip if it's fact.
Well, really, I didn't know that. How would you define gossip, Margie?
Well, it's interesting because I had a different view, but before I did a little research here.
Okay.
I've always thought, gossip was a negative thing to do, and you were betraying someone, and you were talking out of school, and you were just an old biddy.
Yeah.
But the actual definition is that gossip is any talk about someone who isn't present. So there can be positive gossip, but I've always thought it was a no-no kind of gossip.
Now
Well,
that's interesting because you're saying it's about a person, but can it be a person, place, or thing?
Well, I expect it can, but people are a lot much more fun to talk about.
well, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And as it has been pointed out to me just this morning, it's a lot easier to vent and find something wrong or comment on something bad, because that's much more delicious to talk about, and to talk about the good stuff in life. And tell, I could say, X is a saint, and everybody go, yeah, sure, okay, fine. But did you hear this guy over here doesn't pay taxes or whatever?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I define gossip, because I read up on it too, Margie, is mass medium or rumor about private affairs of others. Okay, dishing or tattling. What do you think?
Well, that's an interesting definition because I think it's broader than that. I mean, I understand that it's more centered when you're talking about a person, but gossip, I think, encompasses a much broader sweep and rumors. People take actions on the things sometimes that are rumors or gossip.
Well, that's an interesting thing you just said, is that how many of us tend to believe what we hear when we hear something bad about somebody or something or some event. And then the curiosity grows, and we actually determine our course of action with respect to that person, place, or thing based on the gossip we've just heard.
That's kind of unfair, isn't it?
Pardon me?
That's pretty unfair. But
Well, I don't know.
Human nature.
Okay.
I think it's dangerous because, you could have an adverse effect on yourself by acting on that rumor or gossip too. I think you owe it to yourself to do a little investigation. At least that's how I would handle it.
Well, there's a couple of ways of making decisions. There's the emotional side, and then there's the more logical side. And the first reaction, first impression, suppose I say, hey, I'm going to go meet, Boyus Bird. I hear he's a good guy. And you say, well, Boyus Bird, he's the biggest jerk I've ever met. And now you're predisposed to think that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you guys have a neighborhood gossip?
I don't really have a neighborhood gossip. I have
Well,
like I said,
okay.
a work gossip that somebody that I used to work with got a job somewhere, and I know the manager of the place where she's working, and I want to call her and say, watch your back. Watch
What?
your back, because that person is, you can trust them as far as you can see them. But
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it.
You're not going to spread that one, huh?
Nope. I want to be responsible and I want to be accountable and just stay out of it. She'll find out on her own.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, gossip can be the verb that we're talking about, but it also can be a noun. And I think every neighborhood in Sun City, any neighborhood in the world, let's not limit it to us, has what we call a yenta. Okay.
Yeah.
A yenta is A know-it-all, and B, a gossip,
I call him a mouthpiece.
a mouthpiece. Margie, you're too nice to even say that.
Well, I'm thinking about our neighborhood and I've never encountered that. Now,
No?
granted, it's a home of only 52 homes, so maybe maybe there's one born every 53rd home, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that's
But,
right.
or maybe I'm just not in the loop. But
Okay.
if we are listening to someone gossiping about someone and our ears are open and we're encouraging it, then how do you think later I'm going to think about that person that just told me that? Are they going to go out and talk about me in the same way? So I think this is how you get the targeted name of being a gossiper, is that
Mhm.
you talk, you hurt people, and many times it's rumor.
Yeah. Well, that's why you never leave a party early.
I suppose.
You
But
know,
I
if you're
I'm gonna talk
if you're
about
the
you.
first, if you're all tuned up and you leave a party early, they're going to talk about you when you leave.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and why you left even, yeah.
Yeah, why you left? Well, I mean, take that one to the bank. That's what I say. Well,
But I think we all remember growing up though, when this was happening. We were on a party line with our phones. We didn't have, we had no privacy. But I think more
Boy.
even to the generation of my grandmother on the farm. And, they'd have distinguishing tones, so you would know which of the people the call was for. Oh, but we'd pick up that phone and we would listen to this whole thing. And I think most people did. And you wouldn't dare burp or sneeze because then they'd catch you. They'd know somebody was online. But it was almost a curiosity thing, almost a game. Oh, I wonder what they're going to say. But then if we hear that and pass it on, well, we're gossiping. We're gossiping in the not nice sense.
yeah, I think that,
Can we delineate, excuse me one second, can we delineate between gossip and rumor, or are they the same thing?
good question. I think they're similar. If you're a rumor monger, then you might be a gossiper or a disher. But I don't think it's necessarily the same thing. I think if you pass along a rumor and identify it as such, at some point the perception or the rumor becomes reality in the mind of the last person to hear it. There's a transition and then becomes gossip. That's that's the way I delineate.
I've always felt that if you hear a rumor 2 or 3 times, there's probably a grain of truth in it, and you need to pay attention and listen more.
Nah, I've
Ooh.
never, I don't buy that. Sorry. You're just saying where there's smoke, there's fire, and that may be right. I don't know. But it's, gossip generally has negative overtones, and we could talk a little bit about how it got there. But we went out on the streets of Sun City, went to Lake Somerset the other day on a beautiful day, and talked to some residents and got their opinions on what is gossip and what it's all about. So let's take a look. What's your definition of gossip?
My definition of gossip is busy talk. I think for some of us that can't think of anything else sometimes to speak about, we think of someone or some others that we just want to say a few things about that, again, may not necessarily be true. It could be something that we may have heard, but I think it is busy talk.
Well, that's a pretty good definition. Do you ever engage in busy talk?
I have to admit, early on in my life, I did a little, and I thought it was something like it was a fun thing to do in a sense. And then as I matured, I said, "Oh, this is not nice. It's not good." So I stopped.
Well, thank you for your time today.
My definition of gossip is saying a lot of stuff that probably doesn't mean anything, and it's probably mean.
It's probably mean. Does it always have to be? And do you ever gossip?
No. No, of course not. Yes, I do, but somebody tells you something, you repeat it, and then they repeat it, and by the time it's finally done, it's so misconstrued that it doesn't matter.
My definition of gossip is somewhat talking about someone behind their back.
And do you know people who do that, or have you ever done it?
I have done it myself, which I'm not proud of, but I know a lot of people that do it that I don't really like.
When you hear some gossip, does it ever affect your decision making about a person, a thing, an event?
Not really. I like to make my own judgment. I don't like to go by other people's gossip or judgment. I like to go by my own facts.
What's your definition of gossip?
Well, my definition would be just saying something about somebody that maybe shouldn't be said, or maybe had been told to you in confidence, something like that.
And you must know people who do that. Do you ever gossip?
Not a one. Don't know anybody, have never gossiped in my entire life.
What's your definition of gossip?
Gossip? Gossip is information that somebody wants to put out there that's not necessarily totally true.
And have you ever gossiped in your life?
All the time.
And does it affect the decision making or judgment of others?
It affects my judgment of others, and there's a lot of gossip down here. A lot of truths in a lot of different directions. And I'm always looking for the real truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Well, thanks so much for your time. Okay, well, you can see from some of those answers that there's a definite negative connotation. When you mention the word gossip to somebody, they go to the dark side immediately.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, if you see some old friends and you're just being brought up to date on people and things, you're gossiping in a sense, but it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not hurtful gossip. It's not a deliberate way of spreading something that you know about.
Mhm.
Now,
And-
with gossip, do you believe then, from what you're saying, Margie, that there's an intent there, or is it subconscious?
I think it's an intent. I think that there are what we used to call busybodies and old biddies. And, you know, and I think that our generation is probably as guilty of it as any generation before us, and that this will go on. You know, they say that, you know, if you want to hear what's going on, come and sit by me. And there's a lot that can be made up with that. But I think we can think of people maybe in our lives that were the gossiper, and that you would never want to tell somebody that anything, you don't trust them, but
Mhm.
they have a need for the attention. And
Yeah.
they think they've done a good deed by passing along this news when really it's none of their business.
Well, you know, and I hate to bring this up, as you might guess, but if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody open a conversation with, did you see on Facebook where whatever?
Mhm.
Of course not, because I don't do Facebook and never will. But you guys are on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where God is king, right?
Well, any social media, whether it's
Yeah, yeah.
you know, any of them. But, you know, you have an opportunity and a decision you can make whether you want to engage in a conversation or not. Many times I choose not to engage because it's like, I don't want to be a part of a continual, you know, clarification, attack, or smart remark or whatever, because it's just like an email. It's very difficult to convey emotion. So
Mhm.
some people take offense when you know, your personality was just that, oh, blah, 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 and I wasn't meeting any harmful intent. So it's something you got to be very careful with. And also someone who's a busybody, as Margie says, if they tell their business, they certainly are going to tell yours. So if you find somebody like that and you want something to be heard, tell them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's sort of a evil intent right there. I hate to tell you.
Did either
But
of you ever, did you ever play the telephone game when you were a kid?
sure.
Password, yeah.
Yeah, I'll
played
tell
that.
people what that is, Margie.
Well, I think it was usually a teacher that would put us around in a circle, would be sitting close enough where the first person starts out saying something, and then the next person passes it on to the next person. And when it got around the 15, 20 people, the person that heard it last, it was nothing to do with what originally went out there.
Right.
So it's like the more it moves and the more you want to tell, you add a little bit, you take it out a little bit, you substitute, and therein somewhere lies the truth.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost like a human nature thing, you know, so it's up to us as individuals to say, I'm not going to be a part of this. You know, when you
Well,
hear the gossip, just
That's
step
sort
away.
of, does that sort of suggest the selective hearing that we may have? For example, if a certain politician, recent politician, is mentioned in a sentence to me, I'm immediately predisposed to say, well, that sucks. Or, you know,
Yeah.
and so that predisposition to how you want to hear something leads to the distortion of whatever was said.
Sure.
Also, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
it depends on your vernacular. I mean, you know, you may use one word and then in turn use a different word to convey what you think is similar. And by, you know, the game that Margie was talking about, by the time it comes around to the end, then it's all about interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that comes to mind, we're going to be coming into hurricane season pretty soon. And there are a lot of rumors and gossip that goes along with that. You know, whether you're leaving, you know, how you're going to get back in, so on and so forth. And what I have to say is that people need to be accountable for what they tell others. And you need to have a reliable source to confirm, clarify, and act upon. I think that's really critical.
Okay, so you need to think slow as well as think fast.
Okay, only you, Doug.
Well, there's a best-selling New York Times book, bestseller list called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. And I've heard that every Major League Baseball executive is required to read that now by their organization, because it teaches them not to react so quickly or to categorize something like a baseball prospect as too small or too something, too slow, can't field, and to think through the analytics more and make a reasoned decision rather than just reacting to what you initially thought you saw or heard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once again, I'm recommending books here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we just have to decide whether we're going to build up or tear down.
Okay.
And I think that in some groups, to be accepted, you have to be a terror down. You know, if it's a gossip group.
Mhm.
And I think if that, like Tina said, if that person's going to gossip about the other person, they'll probably gossip about me. It's kind of a stay clear kind of thing we have to take on and say, no part of that.
Well, I've been in conversations where the negativity has been so at a high level that I've just shut up and become, not part of that conversation. Now, maybe that's,
Mhm.
Now, sometimes those same conversations are part of a clique. And I'm not a cliquish kind of gal. And cliques, I think, are notorious for a lot of gossip.
okay. Okay.
That's my opinion, you know. So I try to stay clear of cliques.
Well, certain groups, whether you call them a clique or whatever you call them, yeah, you see them and they're basically gossiping, tearing people down, tearing events down. Nothing is ever good. You see some of that here in Sun City, and you see it elsewhere. I'm not trying to be negative, but if somebody immediately, whoever does something and the immediate reaction is, well, that's stupid or that's wrong or I'd never do it that way. You know what I mean? And they don't even know how to do this.
Yeah.
I hear that
Yeah.
all the time. And it's easier to vent than to celebrate what we do have.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's easier to tear down what somebody else wants to do or what's going on.
Or
Yeah.
what somebody else is, that person, why tear them down to make ourselves feel better? That's wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
Doug, you were a Rotarian, correct?
correct.
So didn't the Rotary Club have something on a flag in the front of the room that you all would quote together?
4-way test.
4-way test, okay.
Yeah. Is it
Tell
the
us.
truth? Is it beneficial? Will it build friendship and companionship, camaraderie, that sort of thing? Okay, I
Yeah.
don't quote it directly anymore, but we used to quote it every Friday morning. En masse, that and service above self were the two mantras. But that's right. I mean, if you can't pass the 4-way test, I'm glad you brought that up. And our viewers should look up the 4-way test. And if they live by that, then they won't be gossiping. They won't be tearing down. They'll be building up.
Yeah.
Which is good. Well, a lot of the negativity is sort of sprung from the old tabloid newspapers. And there was the tabloid journalism, which was malicious society gossip. And you could always get a positive mention as long as you were willing to pay for it. And that's the historical version of how gossip got this negative connotation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Nor did I.
Well, you can read, the Inquirer or USA Today. They're both rags. And you can find out what malicious gossip is.
Well, my mother never left a supermarket unless she walked away with a National Enquirer or the Star.
Yeah.
So she's all up on UFOs and divorces and
Oh, yeah.
horrible diseases.
You recall there was Gary, somebody, was it Gary? I can't remember his name, that kept showing up in the tabloids, and it turned out to be true.
Yeah,
Gary
that's
Hart.
true.
Maybe Gary Hart was the
Yeah,
apprentice.
that's the guy.
Yeah.
Gary Hart with the blonde sitting on his lap on the boat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody of our generation remembers that. Well, let's wrap this up. We could talk some more. We can gossip some more about gossip, but basically, any final thoughts about what it is and how you avoid getting involved in it?
Well, one thing I'd like to say when you start passing on gossip, clarify, make sure that what you're saying has credence. Go to a site like Snoops, or they have different sites where those types of things have been fielded, and you can find out if there's truth in it. Because I have seen things on social media that are reposted that are totally incorrect.
Okay, good
I
talk.
guess what I would leave you with is a truth plus a truth is a truth. A truth plus a lie is a lie.
Damn, Margie, that's pretty good.
Isn't that profound?
Well, we'll probably talk about this some more when we meet you again next month, when we again shoot the breeze. Thanks for watching.